upping my tile game would be upping everybody else's tile game.
That's a great way to put it.
I want to see the industry itself as a whole be lifted up, and I want to see it grow. I want to see more tile jobs. I want to see, people be successful. I don't, and not have
and grow.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to start at the beginning with you. I was so blown away by you and your wife's company. I mean, all that you guys do and have taken on. And I see that you've been around since 2002. If you would just tell us a little bit about how you guys got kicked off.
Yeah. So, at the beginnings, we had pretty humble beginnings. Basically, I had learned the tile trade from a family member who was my aunt's partner. And I was just going to school at the time and somewhat lost in what I wanted to do. I was in my early 20s, had no idea, was going to school and trying to do different things.
Been there. I totally get it.
Yeah. And then just actually got into some legal trouble. I had some substance abuse issues and we had our first child, and I was just really feeling lost. I was young. We had our first child when I was 20 years old. So
wow.
Yeah, so we were young. And anyways, kind of fell into the tile trade. It's just like something that I needed to do, necessity, just to make money. And so the school thing got put on back burner because I needed to make money. We had a new child, and it was just one of those things that once I started doing it, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the satisfaction of completing projects and seeing the finished product and have others admire it. I think at heart, I'm a performer. And so being able to produce something that other people appreciated really made me feel a sense of value. And that's kind of a double-edged sword that a lot of tile guys have, is that we are driven by results of what other people think of what we're doing. And so that can be great. It can drive you to produce really good things, and it can drive you to work really hard, but also you could be left with a sense of worthlessness if you're not producing those things. And so my struggle was finding a sense of value, but then the tile trade kind of gave that to me. And then it just kind of took off from there. I got clean and sober in 2002. And
that's great.
Yeah, went to an inpatient rehab. And then when I came out, I just had a whole new, I had a spiritual experience in that rehab. And when I came out, I just had a whole new view of life.
Wow.
Whole new set of values. And so that really kind of kicked us off. And there was this synchronicity of stuff that just happened. My aunt had happened to work, her best friend worked at a tile shop in town. So she just mentioned, we could start handing out your cards. And even getting that job was one of those weird serendipity things, because they had a tile guy who flaked on them, who finished, did a halfway job on their shower, and they needed it finished. And so they reached out to my mom, who reached out to me. She goes, "Hey, do you want to finish your Uncle Steve's shower?" And I was like, "Yeah." So even getting hooked up with them was one of those things. And so I finished that shower. And then that's when she said, "Well, I have this friend at the tile shop. We can make some cards." And at the time I wasn't licensed or anything. Again, just kind of getting back on my feet. And from there, it just took off. I just did job after job, did the best I could. People really liked my work, and it worked out good for the referral source because their customers were happy. And that's kind of just how it got going. And in the early days, it was, my wife and I look back on those early days, fondness, because there was times, I would set tile all day long. Then we would jump in the car in the evenings and we had our two daughters at the time, two little kids, and we'd drive down to the estimates, and I would go meet clients and do job walks while they were in the car, just hanging out, watching DVDs in the car or whatever. And it was a really cool way to, just looking back on it, it was just such a special time of a young family just kind of growing with the tile trade. So
that's such a beautiful story. I love that. That's so beautiful, especially as a team,
Uh-huh.
in so many ways, not only in life, but in your business and just that cohesiveness, all of that brings.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's incredible to see just the progress. Cause I mean,
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe all that you guys are into. I mean, for example, you've got this showroom, you've got online coaching, you've got online store. I mean, tell us a little bit about like how these came about. Start with your showroom. I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the showroom was a idea that I had probably about, I don't know, 6 or 8 years into doing the business. I realized that my customers were having a hard time selecting their tile, and because there was this disconnect between the tile installer and the tile
Mhm.
supplier, right? It's not like um, the carpet and flooring industry where you go and you pick out a carpet or a flooring LVL hardwood, and you're basically getting an install price too. Tile shops were separate. You had to find your tile, you had to find your tile installer, and they're
Right.
two separate. And I noticed that when I would get a referral from somebody who wasn't a tile shop, and I said, go out and pick your tile, a lot of times I would end up losing those jobs because it was overwhelming. They were going to 2 or 3 different tile shops. They couldn't select their tile. And they put the project on the back burner or whatever, and I just didn't get the job. So I thought, man, if we had like a one-stop shop, just like a carpet shop does, we had the tiles here in the showroom and we could have them come in. They wouldn't have to go out and pick their own tile. We could
Yeah.
help them and facilitate it. So that was my idea. In 2012 was when we actually did the showroom, and it was another really pivotal time
Hmm.
that uh, so about 3 or 4 months prior to opening the showroom, we started going to church. We started attending a Christian church in our area,
Hmm.
and I I was an atheist. I grew up in an atheist family, so I didn't have any kind of spiritual background. Um, you know, when I went to rehab, I was introduced to spiritual principles and how to pray and do, some different ideas, but nothing specific like religion. And so
Right.
my wife had a friend who had taken her to a Christmas service about a year before. And I don't know, it was really weird. I was just sitting in my office and I told my wife, I go, "Do you want to go to church today?" It was a Sunday. It was a fall Sunday in October. And I think, all I had on the docket was watching NFL football or something. And I was like, "Do you want to go to church?" I was just feeling kind of empty and like we needed something a
Mhm.
little more. And she goes, "Really? You want to go to church?" And I was like, "Well, let's just go check it out." She's like, "Well, where do you want to go?" And I was like, "I don't know. And she goes, "Well, my friend Joanne had taken me to this Christmas service last year and it was neat. There's good music and I liked it." I was like,
Mhm.
"Hey, let's just go there." So we went there and uh and I became a Christian basically that same service. I mean, I didn't really do anything with it the first time because I still had a lot of reservations of what people would think of me and my family. I mean, that's
Mhm.
me being the only one in my family to have any kind of spiritual or religious beliefs was scary to me. And so I was like, no. But then we went back the next week. And I was like, yes, I don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I am doing this. This feels right to me. And it was a conviction that I had. That was 4 months prior to me actually taking the steps to open the showroom. Because again, in 2002, the economic climate wasn't great. We were still
Yeah.
kind of getting out of the recession. And I just had this feeling like I was just, I was on just feeling really good, really inspirational, like really, I can't fail. That's really like how my mindset was at the time. I was like, let's just do this. And we didn't even have any money. The economic climate was not good. So I was able to get a credit card through a local credit union and just put everything we could on the credit cards, opened up the showroom and just did it
On faith.
on faith.
This just cracks me up to see that's how God is. Just all that you guys have going on, but see now you plugged in an important
Mhm.
reason why, which I
Yeah,
think
then it starts to make sense
it
because
does.
yeah, people don't really understand it. And I'm sorry if I get a little emotional even
I love it. I
talking about
mean,
those times
it's
because
mind blowing. I'm with you, brother. That's awesome.
yeah, and
Uh,
I feel, when anybody asks me about my success, or like you asked, how did you do all this stuff? How did you do it? And I have to, I wouldn't feel genuine if I didn't put that out there and say that. I mean, as much as I want to take the credit for myself and say, oh yeah, I had all these great ideas, worked as hard as I could, and those things did happen, but it
Hmm.
definitely wouldn't have happened without the faith aspect of it.
I hear you. I believe it. And giving the glory is such an amazing thing. And so I applaud you for that. Thanks
Thank
for sharing that.
you. By any means, I am not your stereotypical Christian man. I still cuss. There's things that I'm continually working on. Uh,
Same here.
and yeah, and I wouldn't want anybody to hear this and be like, oh, he's, label me as anything different than what I portray. And I don't really talk about religion in my videos. I think probably because when I did used to hear it and I wasn't a believer, it was an
Hmm.
automatic turn off. Nails on a chalkboard, and it was just talk. And so in the appropriate settings, I will share, especially one-on-one when people talk to me. But in my videos, I just kind of just keep it broad. But what's interesting is most people know. People reach out to go, "Are you a believer?" They'll say something like, "No, I could tell." I'm like, "Really? You could tell? Well, that's kind
Can't
of cool."
hide that light. So that's awesome. Did you start walking out on faith and you do it, and then look what it turns into. But see, that's a great idea, because as I'm starting to learn more and more about this industry, I realize just how technical these tile projects are,
Hmm.
and that's one thing. I can imagine you either doing a tile floor, or like I saw that tile ceiling test you did. That was pretty
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah.
Just that it's a little bit more technical, it seems to me, than if you're just installing like a faux whatever background, or a vinyl floor or wood floor. I
Yeah.
don't know. Seems
Yeah.
like it to me.
Yeah, there's a lot that can go wrong in a tile installation, and there's a lot
Yeah.
to it, and there's a lot of systems that don't really cross over into each other.
Mm.
So a lot of what happens in our industry is they'll get systems mixed up. Like the probably greatest example is people want to use a pan liner for a shower, the old Odie 40 mil pan liners, and then they want to use a sealed system like Curdy, or a liquid like Red Guard or Hydroban, and they'll take the aspects of those two systems and put them together, and really they're completely separate. You don't really do one.
Oh,
You don't mix them. They're not a mix and match product. So they've learned some things about this, and then they see this other product like Curdy, and all of a sudden they're trying to make a pan liner out of Curdy, or they're trying to put stick tiles directly to a pan liner because you stick tile directly to Curdy. So there's a lot of things where people can get tripped up along the way, and there's some products that are fast setting that people don't really realize. There's products that are slow setting.
right.
So there's a lot of different things that can go wrong with tile, which make it a difficult trade.
Exactly. And you running into situations like that yourself and having to deal with it, all the live and learn sometimes,
Mhm.
trial and error. Did you yourself have a mentor, or what inspired you to end up being a coach?
Yeah, so I mean, I really didn't have that good of a mentor. I had a
Mm.
I had a good tile mechanic who knew certain methods. So when I first started in the early 2000s, the methods were very geographical still, meaning,
Mm.
unions, each individual union, and it's still somewhat like that, but it's much more a melting pot now.
Hmm.
But, San Francisco had their method, LA had their method, Philly had their method, New York had their method, Florida had their method, Texas had their method. And so and without social media, all I really knew was the Northern California methods, which was mostly a hot mop with a wall floats. We did wall floats, a lot of mud work. And so that's all I knew. That's what I thought was the correct method to do it. If you used anything other than mud on the walls, you were considered a hack in my area. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
all I knew. So I thought there was just a bunch of hacks everywhere when I started finding out that people didn't float and they're putting hardy backer and wonderboard on walls. I'm going, oh, you're like that's basically do it yourself. That's not a professional
Mm.
method. So anyways, the methods, I don't know how it can get back to your question, but the methods that we learned here, I thought they were all reaching, but then I soon found out there was other methods that everybody was doing, and there's different correct ways to do it, I guess.
Not just one, for example, or a regional
Correct.
way of
Correct.
doing it.
Not
Yeah.
just a regional way of doing it. So, I the installer that I learned from knew this method very well, but that's all he knew. And so I found it a little bit limiting as the new products came out. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just always wanted to learn more and more. I guess I also learned early on from business of what not to do. Like he was a good tile mechanic. I, you know, so I took some of the methods that he taught me, and then I kind of felt like I did a lot on my own. And yeah, I messed up stuff early on. I probably should have trained under somebody else a little bit longer, but again, probably that attitude of faith and just like that I could do anything. That that's what I was. After I got out of rehab, I was like, oh, it's just gonna work out. Everything will work out. I'll do this project. It's gonna work out. And yeah, there was definitely some mess ups, but I always tell people, if they're starting out, I was like, you got to just do it. You have to just do it. Just get your
You got to launch off
got
at
to
some
get your
point.
yeah. You got
Yeah.
to just do it, and you're gonna make mistakes, and you got to just what you got to do is make sure that you don't get too discouraged. You got to keep your expectations in check. There's going to be bumps in the road. And you can't
Absolutely.
think it's all going to be roses. And and
You can't get discouraged by that either and
yeah,
just want to go, throw in the towel or whatever. You
no,
just
because it's so easy. Again, our trade is so hard. When you work that hard at something, you pour that much into it, and
mm-hmm.
then at the end of it, you get a call back where it all needs to be redone or what. I mean, it does. It sends a lot of people out. A lot of people are like,
I'm
this is
done.
too much.
Yeah.
I am done. There's too much to know. It's too easy to make mistakes. It's too hard to please these homeowners. It's too hard to please this general contractor when this timeline, and then you add on some installation failures or whatever, and it's like, I'm out of here.
It's the
But yeah,
combination of factors that can maybe pile on so much.
yes, yeah, yeah. So I always try to tell people, keep your expectations in check, stay humble. Staying humble is a huge thing.
Sure
And
is.
again, even though I had a lot of confidence early on, I was humble enough to know that I'm not the best and I can make mistakes. And so, yeah, the mistakes that I made early on, I was able to remedy, but it wasn't like it is now. So around 2011, again, when I started my YouTube channel, I had a friend who was just helping me with marketing, and I was just trying to get more work in my area. So he
Mm-hmm.
said, well, if you get on YouTube, then people Google search, how to do tile, they'll see you, they'll contact you, you get more work. And so that's really why it started. It didn't really start, I didn't plan for it to be like an education channel. I planned it for more as a marketing tool. But
Mm-hmm.
what I found out after when I made my first video, I was like, I'm actually pretty good at this. It feels like natural. It feels good for me. And my dad is a school teacher. My grandfather was a school teacher and a coach. So I have a lot of athletic coaches in my family history. And so it just kind of came natural for me to be able to explain things, why I do it, how it
Mm-hmm.
works. And so that's just kind of how it went. Again, I didn't really plan to go in and be like, I'm going to be this coach on YouTube. It was more selfish business reasons. And
From a
then
marketing point of view,
from a
yeah.
marketing point of view, and then it just kind of grew. And what I realized is it made me feel really good to be able to help people. I was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what I
Isn't
want to.
that funny how that happens? It's almost like there's so many purposes in like what you're doing. It does help and you too, but you're also providing that service for other people. What do you find that most people are asking you for? Is it technical advice or just like you said, how to run your business, or what kind of topics do you find that you're covering in your coaching
It's
service?
almost all technical tech stuff. Yeah, yeah. People rarely. There's tons of other videos on how to run a business. I'm not, a business coach guru. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of other information out there. My niche is pretty much specifically how to do tile, and even more specific, tile showers. Because again, there's a lot of I'm not saying, tiling a floor, tiling a backsplash is easy, but there's a lot of information out there, and somebody can Google how to set tile on a backsplash and figure it out pretty easy. It's when you get into the technicalities of the showers is where people know that if they don't do it correctly, it's a disaster. And so they want that assurance. A lot of them will have the pieces in place. And
Hmm.
I have probably, I would say probably 90% of my coaching clients are DIYers or first time uh,
Oh,
install.
that's an
Yeah.
interesting thing. Yeah, I
And then
didn't
I
think
get
about that.
10%. Yeah, 10% is from the professional field who, again, just haven't run into this particular thing, whatever it is, before, and they just want some assurance from me if I've seen it and done it before. So, yeah,
Oh, wow.
most of them are the DIYers, which again, not what I initially set out to do. My channel was initially to help professionals, and
Hmm.
my very first video was how to float a shower wall. It was floating a shower, and it was to put out there. But it's just, kind of shaped itself into
What it
helping
is.
wires, and I actually enjoy it. I mean, I like talking with other pros, but it's just different. The homeowners are DIYers are usually, they're much more supportive of what I do.
Hmm.
They want to support me. They are very interested in what I have to say. And professionals, again, they do it on a day-to-day basis. They're in contact with reps. Um, there's some competitive ego stuff involved with
Yeah,
the professionals too. So I really enjoy the market that I serve.
that's great. I was wondering, you ever run into coaching any of the DIY influencer types? Did you ever hear from folks that have a good following as far as like
Yeah,
a
well, yeah,
variety of projects?
yeah, it's interesting. I just had someone reach out, um, who is an influencer, and they said, "Oh, do you want to do a collaboration? You can, help consult." And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great. I would love to do that."
That's fun.
But yeah, most of them have watched my videos. If they're in the kind of, because there's a lot of females that do that, and it's a slash, design slash DIY
Hmm.
channel that they have. Most of them are on Instagram that I've been in contact with, but um, yeah, a lot of them have seen my videos because they're trying to figure out how to do it. And if you Google how to tile a shower, my videos are going to pop up.
When it comes, I was noticing too that you just mentioned that like your focus out it seems like are showers or bathroom, but you also did kitchens at one point. Have you decided to just like be very focused right now in bathrooms and showers, or
Yeah, yeah, it seems to be
like a
like our niche,
specialty?
but yeah, as far as yeah, I guess I'd say with both the social media company and the installation company,
Hmm.
bathrooms and showers has been our niche that we've fallen into. And we'll do kitchens, we do kitchen countertops and backsplashes, and we can do the cabinets, but those projects are generally a larger scope. They take
Hmm.
longer. They they displace people a little bit more.
Oh,
And
true.
being in remodels, because again, that's what I enjoy. I enjoy working with the end user. I really like giving the end user the product, and that just has always made me feel good. So in a remodel atmosphere, doing a bathroom is much easier than doing a kitchen. And the project time is nice. It's, we're usually 3, 4 weeks on a bathroom, and we're set up really well. We have 4 employees, and everybody is really good at what they do. And so
Hmm.
we're really efficient with the bathrooms. They're, they're out working right now while I'm doing this podcast with you.
They're good to go.
They know what to do. Yeah.
Tell us what
Yeah.
Marissa does with you guys.
Yeah, Marissa, so she was in here yesterday, and she did 2 design consultations with clients. She has flexible hours. She's a mom first. We
Exactly.
have 4 children, and even though 3 of them are grown up and out of the house, and our son is 16, she's still really involved with them, talks to them all the time, and she probably she spends a lot of her free time, um, meal prepping, getting healthy food for us. It's awesome. She's a wonderful cook. I mean, she's
That's awesome.
I don't even like going out to dinner a lot of the times because I'm like, babe, it's not going to be as good as
I
what
mean,
you cook.
seriously, that's
And
true because you get to see what you're putting in your food. I
yeah,
love
so
to
she
cook too, so I'm with her.
yeah, so let it, so you know how much time it takes to go
Oh
shopping,
yeah.
get the right ingredients to plan it out. So probably half of her time is doing that, and then half the time she's helping me. And so she'll do the design consultations. She fulfills our website orders. So
Mm-hmm.
any of the products that we sell on our websites, from the merchandise to the drains to the waterproofing membrane tools, we have trowels, leveling clips, and all that on there. So she really enjoys packing them up and then getting them out to the mail. So between doing design, that's kind of what she's fallen into. She pays a few of the bills, but we do have a bookkeeper, and
Mm-hmm.
it's taken us a long time in business to really know where our places are in each of our specialties,
Strengths. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because the home is like that's her place, that's her
It's
office.
her domain.
Yes, it is. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I try not to overstep my bounds on the way she runs it there. And then the same thing with our office. It's taken a while for her to know what I need help with and what I
Mm-hmm.
really don't need help with. And so it's taken a long time of working together, but we've really found a sweet spot lately to where we're both doing what we really like to do.
That's awesome. You know, and when you were talking about that, I was just wondering, like, how that flow sometimes comes into being with these different teams, and then kind of understanding, okay, maybe this is overkill here, or you need this kind of employees, along with you
Mm,
two, like that, this is the way we function the best. Sometimes you want a just very simple core group, and then you just, as you need people, maybe you contract a few things out. I want to circle back to that because
well,
it seems like such a great idea because of that whole aspect of the disconnect once somebody goes off to find their tile.
mhm,
And for that matter, I'll be honest with you, I've never done that project before. So, like, if I were to do that, I would be clueless. I would be like, so, well, how do, so having that consultation phase is just seems so smart
mhm,
is to
yeah,
have them see all those choices. And then you as the installer and the technician and the designer of it, then you can go boom, boom, boom. I need that, or we're going to need this or whatever. All
yeah,
those considerations get kind of more, centralized here instead of just being so extraneous, which would be
yeah,
frustrating.
correct. Yeah.
Is that
So
what you found or what have you guys found with that process?
yeah, yeah. So it's funny because originally we opened the showroom because we wanted to sell material. That was like our original vision, and we still do. We do some material only sales because, um, we got some vendors in here: Dow Tile, Arizona
Oh
Tile,
yeah.
Enzer Tile, Sonoma Tile Makers, Phosphorus. We have a lot of. Oh, I'd probably say we have 10 to 15 vendors that we show up on a dealer. Um, Portal. So if somebody's looking for a certain tile, they can find it in our showroom. So we do some material only sales, but it's probably about 5% of our business. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was going to be the bulk of it.
Mm.
What we found was is when people were coming in looking for tiles, I was started capturing the installs from them. I'd ask them, "Do you have an installer?" And most of them would say, "No, we're just out looking, we're starting." So you catch them at the beginning of
Right.
the project. So what it's turned into is more of just a design studio, and we do have some material sales, but it's become a design studio. And when my wife and I are both in here, when Marissa and I are both in here with a client, it just clicks because again,
Mm.
the husband usually wants all of the technical information, how it's going to go in, what's going to go in, and they are generally more interested in that. And then the wife is generally interested in colors and what actual the finishes are going to be. So Marissa handles
Sure.
that. So it's kind of a team thing that really works well. And honestly, it adds credibility when it's a husband and wife team. It's not just, you know, Joe installer out there running around in a van with a trowel bucket and a trowel. And
I
so
got you. Yeah.
yeah, so
With
it's
you.
added, and that's one of the things that it's neat for me to have a influence on other installers and see other installers kind of follow this model, because I know I'm not the first one to do it, but I'm the first one to put it out there and make it aware. But, to hear other installers, getting their wives involved, other installers getting the showroom, because really, if I believe I wouldn't be able to contract the type of jobs I do without the showroom, because it just adds that layer of credibility. If somebody's coming in to sign a $90,000 contract on a bathroom,
Mhm.
it's different coming here into our showroom than it is me going to their house, here again, and I don't want to just say just a contractor, but it's different when you have
It
a home
is
base.
different. It shows your level of commitment to
Correct.
what you're
Yes.
doing,
Mm,
and that makes them feel more comfortable
yes.
and assured that,
Mm,
this is the real deal. Because
And
a
that's
lot of us have been, in situations to where we've hired different people to do stuff and it maybe didn't turn out as well, right?
yeah.
So having that extra layer just has an assuredness to it.
And I feel that the the comfort level of the homeowners has a direct impact on how the job's going to turn out. I really do.
I bet.
If there's anxiety involved in the project from the get-go, when someone is worried about what's going to happen, um, you know, it adds a stress level. Everybody feels it during the project, and vice versa. If a homeowner is comfortable, if they're confident, then the projects just go so much better. It's so much smooth because they're just like, we trust you. What do you think? It's not this micromanaging thing when
Right.
people have
Or
anxiety.
suspicion.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It gets off on the right foot. And you're right. Like that does make a difference because once any kind of odd little thing comes in, then people start getting that edge about themselves
Yes.
about how it's going. And tell us, because there's so many people, and I think it is gratifying just working with your hands, having that finished product. Has that felt really good to you doing this for all these years?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know myself well enough. There's really nothing else that I could do. I mean, there's other things I could do, but I would have to be producing something and providing a service. And I mean, yeah, I don't
That
know.
actually
I'm just
creation thing, you bringing
create.
something
Yes.
into being,
Yes.
really. Another aspect of that too is just having a good time doing the design and helping it your clients, especially like I said, I would be kind of totally lost. Like just to does it feel good to go? Let me help you with like how I think this might best go or something. Is that enjoyable for you?
Yeah, for Marissa, she lights up. You can
Mm.
tell it lights her up to be working with people, and she's very interactive with people, and that really does it for her. I'm more of the let me build it. Let me
Yeah.
build it for you.
Again, the reason why having the team is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I noticed that you guys had said, I think on your website, stay small and honest. What does that mean to you?
Uh, I guess that means just keep it simple. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've I've built my business in a way to really have the least amount of people involved to do the best job possible that we can do. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people want to scale a company, make it big, uh, generate more revenue, more jobs, and uh, I've 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 been up to, I mean, eight employees was about the peak of what we did, and I
Mm-hmm.
tried that out for a while and just found I didn't enjoy it. I found like really four guys working in the field for
Mm-hmm.
me is like the perfect amount. It's just like we all know each other really well. You don't get too many personalities mixed up with each other. And I'm like, yeah,
It's a
the
comfort level, it sounds like, in a lot of
yes, it
ways.
is. Yeah, I don't want it too big and too many people because um, I feel like my guys are family, and I really like to keep it like that.
Since the name of our podcast is up your tile game. So like when you hear that, like what does that mean to you when you hear up your tile game?
Up your tile game, I would
Mhm.
say it's just do the best you can do, right? Do, do the best you can do. A lot of it comes down to effort.
Mhm.
Effort effort is really the only thing you can control. I mean, how much you put into it. Everybody has different talent levels, and so I would say it's the best you can do, whether you're a DIYer, a first time, right?
Yeah.
I talk to them a lot, and a lot of them are intimidated. And I'm like, look, you can do this, but what you need to understand is it's going to take you a lot longer than it takes a professional. Manage your
Yeah.
expectations, and you're going to find how much you can do in a day. Then your project's going to be more enjoyable because you're not disappointed that you didn't get enough done, and then you're frustrated and you're rushing, and then it turns out a mess. So yeah, even for DIYers, I'm like, they can up their tile game the same as
Yeah.
professional can, right? Um, for me, I guess I would say I feel I have a responsibility since I've been so blessed by this industry to give back where I can
Yeah.
to provide the information to other people. I'm constantly, and my wife will attest to this, and it makes her, uh, sometimes she has to tell me to calm it down, but I'm constantly talking to other tile installers and people through my direct messaging and on my website and stuff. People asking questions, and I love to help them. I just want to help everybody.
Mhm.
Whatever I can do to help them get what I've been given. Like I just
Give
feel like,
back.
yeah, there is this responsibility. And for a time I tried to shun it. Even recently, the last, I don't know, the last couple of years, there's been times when I'm like, man, why am I still doing this? This is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get ready for the camera all the time. It's a lot of work to
Mhm.
put yourself out there. And I was thinking about it, and I even took a little break here and there. And what I realized is I didn't feel good. I was like, this is just part of it. If I I have to have this responsibility to feel good about myself. So
Mhm.
I take it on as that. So for me, uh, upping upping my tile game would be upping everybody else's tile game. I want to
That's
see
a great way to put it.
I want to see the industry itself as a whole be lifted up. And even I've made some videos about manufacturers that don't always paint them in the best light.
Mm.
I admit that. Even with doing that though, I feel like that is still uplifting the industry as a whole. For one, being honest about it, because it's easy
Mhm.
to sugarcoat. If you have a favorite manufacturer, we kind of fall. You've seen it. Tile guys
Sure.
fall into this team of the manufacturers, and so for one, it's on honest, unbiased information, and for two, it's still promoting the tile industry.
Yeah.
It's still lifting the industry. It's still talking about it. So even in the industry as a whole, I want to see it grow. I
Absolutely.
want to see more tile jobs. I want to see, you know, people be successful. I don't, and not have
And grow.
grow. Yeah, exactly.
It makes sense though, because, we're all subject to get critique.
Mhm.
Because if you didn't get critique, I've always been told the distinction there's criticize and critique. Critiquing, that's how you get better.
Yeah.
So you have to expect, if we put ourselves out there, including manufacturers, you have to expect to get feedback and critique.
Yeah, and if it's working, it's easy to not do anything about it, right? Only until they get questions from installers, then
Hmm.
there's the pressure and the motivation to change and make a better product.
That's it. And
Mm.
that's really all it is. And I think it was on your YouTube channel. You did a collaboration with a designer near you. Her name is Corinne. She's French. So
Green.
do you find yourself doing collaborations like that very much? She was adorable, by the way.
Oh yeah, Korean is awesome. Yeah, it's I love working with other designers as well because it's a good team, right? They have a client, they do the design, but can't do anything with it unless there's an installer. So
Exactly.
yeah, so we've formed a really good relationship with Green. We do have a few other designers that we do the same thing with.
Hmm.
I think it's a great strategy for tile installers to team up with designers. It's someone who, you have each other's backs in certain situations. If you have that relationship, and you can just even discuss those things in private and come up with solutions, and then it can be a really, really great relationship. And that's what we have with Green.
That's a great idea. Yet another, kind of innovative way of doing it, because the collaboration, you're learning from each other. So
Yes.
that
Yeah.
benefits you guys and the end product and the end
Yeah.
clients.
And there's just little things that you get used to. And so
Mm-hmm.
you know what to expect. And then and in turn, she's learning about the installation process and the limitations of certain things that you can do.
Exactly.
And so, yeah,
That's a
those things.
win-win right there. I do my research, I get online, I check out your website, I check out your videos, and man, I got to just say right off the bat, 279,000 followers, that's a lot. Are you kind
Yeah.
of blown away by that yourself?
Yeah, with YouTube, those numbers, things have changed a little bit since they've gone to some short form video formatting,
Mm-hmm.
the YouTube shorts and everything. But as far as long form creator content from YouTube, yeah, I take a lot of pride in that number. It's taken a lot of work to get there, and
Yeah.
it's not easy. Anybody who's ever tried YouTube uh, can probably attest to that. That getting to those numbers on YouTube is quite difficult. It's a little different than the other short form platforms like
Mm-hmm.
TikTok and Instagram, where things can go viral a little bit easier. You can gain followers that aren't necessarily in the industry, right? Anybody, people they will get blasted out and people can follow them. So if you have 100, 200,000 followers on Instagram or TikTok, they might not all be in the industry that you're trying to hit. Where
Mm-hmm.
Google does a little bit better job of pinpointing who's going to be watching your videos. Either they're going to be professionals in your industry or they've been shopping for products in your industry.
Right.
So yeah, it's a pretty big number and it's taken a long time. I've been doing it since 2011. So
Wow.
thank you for
Well,
recognizing it, though.
congratulations. I'm very
Uh,
impressed.